I finished a year in 2 schools, in 2 different countries at the same time, and they didn't know about it. Just before we begin the story, this video is a part of a 4-episode series on this channel about the high school in Switzerland. So it's already the 2nd episode, and the 2 others are coming soon. And I also wanted to mention that very soon I'm launching my skillshare course, where you'll be able to learn how to go to an international high school or how to go to high school abroad. Jesus. You can find more information in this video description, and let's start. So if you've watched the first video of the series, you already know kind of the background. In September 2018, I started high school and I started to do the International Baccalaureate program in my public high school. I actually posted a little tour of this of the building, where I also say a bit about the school, so you can watch it if you're interested in how the Polish typical high school, or not so typical, looks like. During my first year in high school, I basically did everything I could to get myself an opportunity to finish my high school abroad, and so I actually won a scholarship to the school in Switzerland. But from the very beginning, from the very moment where I got the response, which was a positive one, I had doubts whether I should go there or not. I basically questioned whether my reasons to do that were good. At last, I ended up going there. However, those doubts stayed with me. And what kind of worsened them was that my school actually offered me a deal. It was a pretty standard thing for everybody who went on an exchange or to high school abroad. I could basically come back if I didn't like it, if something happened. I had this safe net. I could come back. I wasn't erased from the student list. And I will not go too much into the doubts I had and so on. But what basically summarizes what I felt is that our dreams come true, but we don't recognize them. The school was different than I expected. I was, I think, actually not ready to go there, and perhaps it was not the right thing for me at the time. My parents often suggested that maybe I was too young to go abroad, and of course I said, no, I'm an adult, like I can do anything. But I couldn't stay committed to the school, and yeah, I felt terrible, very indecisive. I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't appreciate neither being there, not being there, and I couldn't take the full advantage of the fact that I had such a great opportunity. And then COVID came. It was in March 2020, if you didn't remember that. And at that moment, my school closed. The boarding house closed, and we all had to come back to our homes or like stay somewhere. Like basically the school turned into the fully online mode, and I came back to Poland. And at that time, my dad, I think, suggested to me that, like, since I am now doing the online school and I had a bit of the Easter break, why don't I try the Polish school to see what it is like? Because it was also in online mode, so I could technically, during the break, go to a couple of lessons, see whether I like them more or not, whether my, expectations for that school were true or not. So I actually did that. I contacted my Polish school and I started going on the lessons there. And here comes the crazy part of this experience. Basically, if I wanted to switch, I couldn't just continue the subjects that I had in Switzerland because not all of them were offered. So I had to switch my English literature to Polish literature, then my French as a second language to English, my biology to ESS, which was actually easier, and I had to catch up a lot in history because they did different topics. I had to catch up like 2 months of content in math higher level because they were just like going faster. So that was the problem number 1, catching up. And the second one was that very soon the break ended, and now I had 2 schools to go to. So if you're wondering like, how is it even possible? Here's how. Firstly, in my timetable, I had many actually lessons where they didn't overlap. So I actually could go to both and just be fully active and present there. However, there were a couple of lessons where there was an overlap. So for example, I had math and history at the same time, nearly like Hermione in Harry Potter. So I used a lot of strategies to actually go around that and to be able to at least pretend that I was paying attention. First, I used two devices, my phone and my laptop, and two sets of headphones. So accidentally I wouldn't, speak to one where I intended to speak to another. I also always used the time in one lesson where I didn't have to be active, like we watched a video or the teacher was explaining something, to be active in another lesson, so then they wouldn't ask me something. Also, if I knew that I had to be really active in a lesson, I guess mostly a presentation or something like that, then I would not go to another lesson. But usually I avoided that because I actually needed to be present in both schools, not to raise suspicions, and also to still be considered a good student. Sometimes I faked technical problems, so I responded later oh sorry, I heard you asked me a question, I couldn't respond to that because my Wi-Fi broke or something, while I had to be active in another lesson. I also a good strategy was also to keep my responses brief, so I would pay attention to another one and to ask a question to a teacher so I wouldn't have to say something for a little while. In the Polish school I didn't have to have a camera on, but in Switzerland I did. So what I did when I had to respond in the Polish school, I just did that, or something like this, and I was saying my response to the microphone so that they couldn't see that I was speaking, I remember once I had an actual emergency because the teachers asked me a question at the same time in both of the lessons. I remember it was history and Polish. So in history I was like, sorry, I'm smelling something. Oh my god, I'm actually smelling, I think my sister is burning something. I really need to go. I'm sorry, I'll be back in a second. I'm so sorry. And in the second one, I was like, yes, sorry, I'm so sorry, but my Wi-Fi broke. Could you repeat that? I really didn't hear it. You probably also did things of this sort in online lessons. There was also the week of mock exams in Switzerland, so there I just pretended that I was sick for a week. In Poland, and generally my strategy was just to survive, so I came prepared to the lessons, so I knew what was going on, and then I listened to both more or less, just to be able to be responsive, if it makes sense. I also remember that I had a list of excuses that I could use to be able to quit the lesson if I needed to. So something burning, pancakes, somebody calling me, somebody going into my room. I don't even remember now because I lost the list. So I just brainstormed it one day and had the list of excuses ready to go with. All of this lasted only a month, but it was a lot. I had to catch up in Polish school while having a lot of stressful lessons, 2 times homework, and generally online school isn't perfect either. However, for me, I guess it was easier than for others because at least I had a lot to do and I didn't have time to think too much, and I just needed to focus on the tasks. Yeah. At the end, I actually resigned from the Swiss school in May after the mock exams. I asked them whether that was enough for them to give me a certificate that I finished a year there. I really wanted that because firstly my grandma and my family insisted that I should have some kind of proof that I went there because that would be useful. And secondly, I just wanted to do it right, sort of. And at the end, I actually got a normal certificate that I finished both of the years in both of the schools. So yeah, I did it. Whew. If you ever thought of doing something like that for a reason, I don't know what kind of reason you might have for this, but it's not worth it. Finishing 2 schools at the same time has never been useful to me. For example, when I was applying to the university, I wouldn't even want to mention that because that sounds freaking weird. I don't think it's a good sign that you're doing 2 schools at the same time for the university. So I also didn't want to explain myself. I just wanted my application to be normal and just to get in. I'm here right now. They don't know about it, so I'm doing well. Anyway, I actually learned a lot. First, I learned that I might be a different person than I think I am. The things I thought would be perfect for me might not be. Secondly, and primarily, I learned the importance of not creating the problems for yourself. This whole situation was made by me, and that was completely unnecessary. It was the stress that I really could have lived without. So since then, I really tried to just do what's important and be more thoughtful about my choices. And then, there was this whole thing about not being able to decide what I wanted to do with my high school, where I wanted to go. And I guess the main thing I've learned is that my choices are really not that important, because probably whatever I decide, I'll do just fine. And it doesn't really matter what I do. I can pick the better option and be unhappy, or choose the worst option and live my life. If you're wondering, I don't really regret coming back to Poland, because I rediscovered my values, what I really wanted to do. I started the YouTube channel, I started doing gymnastics again, I built a stronger and a better relationship with my sister and my family, so I really don't think I have much to regret. Alright, so I think that's it for the video. In the next one, I'm gonna cover some of the reasons why the school wasn't as I expected it would be. More specifically, I'll talk about people and how it is to go to school with millionaires when you are not one of them. So I hope you're excited for that, and I hope you liked this video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.